Well, if you couldn't tell from the lack of music, it's not a normal episode of Geeknights, which means it's that time again.
Oh, you're not even putting the music in the specials anymore?
I've never put music in the specials.
Oh, I don't know. I don't listen to the specials because they're not so...
Specials have never had music in them. They're just, we start talking.
Oh, okay then. Take that, specials.
Take that, internet.
Fair.
But yeah, I'm out of town, so this episode was actually recorded last night, and there probably won't be a show tomorrow night unless Scott and Emily decide to figure out how to use my computer to record something.
If I did, it would just be low audio quality, and I would just push record and then stop and then make an MP3 with no editing. So that's what it would be.
But yeah, I know we have a lot of new listeners coming in periodically, but if you've never listened to Geek Nights before, you might want to check out any other episode before you listen to this one. This is what we call a special. Special is code on Geek Nights for we were too lazy to make a real show, so we made a show that takes a quarter the effort and half the time.
Unlike specials on television, which means they put in more effort, more time, and more money to try to get new listeners, this is laziness to keep existing listeners sated.
We could have a very special Geek Nights, but that would mean like Scott locked himself in a refrigerator in a dump yard and almost died, and then we all learned something.
All right.
Like that episode of Punky Brewster.
I never watched Punky Brewster ever. I don't even. I've heard of it, and I know it's some show, but that's all I know.
But you don't know about the tonight on a very special name of show.
I do know about that, yes.
Because Punky Brewster, I believe, started that.
Oh, Punky Brewster's a live-action show.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about it.
Punky Brewster was a live-action show.
I never knew anything about it at all, other than there was a show called Punky Brewster that I never watched.
I used to watch it as a kid.
Well, it was on from 1984 to 86, and then again in 87 and 88 with some syndication.
I watched a lot of reruns on Channel 9.
I was watching Alf, I think, during those times.
You know, as a kid, I'd say that I watched some good stuff and some bad stuff. I mean, I watched He-Man, but now I know that He-Man was terrible.
Yep. But I'm glad I watched it when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, it was awesome.
Yeah, but I think the worst show I watched as a kid was Small Wonder.
I don't know what that is.
It's not good.
All right.
Anyway.
I'll take your word for it.
So instead of doing, it's a special. We can do whatever we want, but it is anime, manga, comic night. And it just so happens that over the last weekend, we got an email from a listener that Scott wanted to talk about it right away, but we decided to wait until the night where it was topical. And now that we're doing a special, it seems like the perfect day to broach this topic.
Well, not only is this the specifics of this email very topical, but I have a rant that has been building up inside of me, and I've been letting loose little by little.
Mostly because, unlike me, Scott hangs out on the Comic Geek Speak forums, and they're cool people, and he hangs out there, but I think he disagrees with 75% of the opinions posited there.
Perhaps, but...
Like, I wager that he is that guy in those forums. I mean,
I'm definitely that guy.
You all know that there's that guy in our forums. I think you know exactly who that guy is. Well,
But anyway...
Everyone's thinking, am I that guy?
But anyway, this is rant that's been building, and this doesn't target that rant directly, but it is encompassed by my rant, and therefore it is an excuse for me to let loose.
I'm going to read this email in its entirety before we comment.
I mean, it's a special, and we're only doing one Geekback, so why not?
Yeah. Now, the email is from Kate. In radio, it's like, Kate from Iowa, but I have no idea where Kate's from.
The internet.
Kate from
the internet. What domain is she from?
Kate, it doesn't say.
At something?
At us.something. I imagine it's in America.
All right.
Anyway, while I applaud the idea of not buying bootlegs and not pirating after something is licensed, the real thing hurting anime DVD sales is people not buying DVDs. The quote/unquote rule of fan subs is, if you enjoyed watching the show, you should buy it. Not if you loved it, not if it changed your life, but if you just liked it and were entertained. No matter what, the US anime industry is not like the Japanese industry. The US doesn't get to rely on advertisers for their revenue. For the most part, they have to rely on us, the fans. So while renting anime is all well and good to see if you like the show, shouldn't the same rules apply? Because otherwise, while it might not make people feel bad, it is just as hurtful to the industry. I feel like I should switch into a What's It Pepperbox voice.
No, just keep going.
And since most DVDs are well priced, even cheap, it's not too hard. I also hear complaints, you spelled here wrong, Kate, I'm sorry, about the price of US anime DVDs. But if you really think about it, $30 is a good price for 4 or 5 episodes. I remember paying $30 for just 2 episodes of Cowboy Bebop on VHS. I also remember those times. Those were dark days. Now, I'm not saying that is right, but anime is a niche market, so it seems ludicrous to expect the same price on a DVD of the latest Spider-Man movie on DVD. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that we all need to buy more anime, period. Kate.
All right, Kate. I could have stopped at 10 different places in your email and said how dumb you are.
Well, but not so much dumb.
No.
Yeah.
But how you are wrong.
I'm going to get my words in edgewise because I think once Scott gets going, he's not going to stop.
Maybe.
But,
let me try to dig up this email actually on my laptop so I can go back into it.
Yeah. Well, I do find it funny. I mean, I got to make fun of any email I read, but the real thing hurting anime DVD sales is people not buying DVDs. That is a beautiful example of the kind of marketing speak that I used to hear at IBM at business meetings.
The real problem is
It's like,
people not
yields are
buying
down.
enough mainframes.
They would say a long sentence that basically said sales are down because people aren't buying our product.
Wow.
Yeah, that was beautiful and transcendent. But let's ignore fan subs. We're not going to talk about fan subs at all. Let's just talk about either you are pirating something illegally or you are watching it legally. So, anime is available in the US on DVD, and I can purchase it. It is perfectly legal for me to rent it, and that has been upheld in courts time and time and time again. The rental industry is perfectly legal. And also, the copies I am renting were purchased by the company that is renting them out, and they have the full legal right to do that. It was paid for, and it is done. If it is available legally at that whatever price or whatever means, then I don't think anyone can be morally impinged upon by purchasing it or consuming it in that way. I mean, just straight up, I can't make the argument more directly than that. Watching it in Netflix or watching it on Blockbuster is identical to purchasing it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, why not? Makes sense to me.
Yeah, and the real issue, I mean, aside from that, because one, renting it still generates revenue, because if something's rented a lot, Netflix and those places have to buy more copies of it. And I know for a fact that anime fans ruin DVDs. If
God, I can't tell you how many
times.
times we got scratched DVDs from Netflix and we send them back, and I must assume that if the demand for that DVD remains the same, because anime fans keep renting it and scratching it, then Netflix is buying more copies. So,
but it's only
people,
the anime.
You're
The
hurting
movies
the
are never
anime industry
scratched.
because you're not scratching your Netflixes enough. Scratch your Netflixes more to help the anime industry.
But, I mean, that issue aside, if someone has the choice of getting something illegally or getting it legally wins. If someone has two means of getting something legally, say, buying it at full manufacturer's suggested retail price from the company directly, or buying it super cheap, used from deep discount DVD, there's no difference between those two options.
Or getting it in a box for $10 at a convention years later, or renting it from Netflix,
or borrowing it from a friend, or I watched Cowboy Bebop, I'm done with it. Here, take my DVDs. I don't need them. And then you watch it, and then you give them to someone else to watch them, and we just pass them around. Now notice, not copying, not ripping, but just giving.
Yeah.
Or trading, or selling used.
What's wrong with that? This Kate seems to think that if you watch something and you like it, you are somehow obligated to spend money on it, even if you wouldn't have spent. Let's pretend there's an anime A, right? Anime A comes out, and I watched the fan subs, but it wasn't that great, but I watched them anyway because I was bored. Kate seems to think I should go and buy the DVDs, even if I'm never going to watch the show again. Now, let's pretend that same show came out, and for whatever reason, I wasn't bored, so I never watched the fan subs. I still wouldn't have bought the DVDs ever. There is no situation where I would have bought the DVDs. It's not like the fan subs prevented me from buying the DVDs. If I was going to buy it, I was going to buy it, and the fan subs aren't going to change whether I was going to buy it or not. So, just because I like something, I'm not under any obligation to spend money on it. And if I'm going to spend money on it, I'm gonna. And if I'm not, I'm not. And you're not going to say, oh, you're guilty because you didn't spend money. Ooh.
You're not guilty.
Yeah.
I mean, before we get into the deeper issues here, just think of it this way. Practically, from a purely practical, rational standpoint, ignore morals or anything else, even though I think the moral argument is clear in this case as well, because you are purchasing it legally or watching it legally.
Well, law and morals are not the same.
But even then, from a purely rational perspective, say I wanted to watch a show, so I rent it all and I watch it all. If the show wasn't that good, and I just don't feel like I'm ever going to watch it again, what purpose does purchasing a physical a good that had to be manufactured and then letting it take up space in my house serve? What if I do buy all the anime that I liked just to support people, but then I just sell that anime on eBay? Or I just give it away, or I throw it away?
It wastes plastic and paper and your money.
Yeah, it wastes energy. There's no point to buying something I've already seen unless I want to show it to someone else or watch it again. And honestly, a lot of anime, if I want to watch it again, I'll just Netflix it again.
Yeah.
That's sadly enough.
Now,
The deeper issue
the
here.
deeper issue is this. It seems to me that what Kate is asking people to do is basically treat the anime company like a charity. Like,
Now,
the anime company is in need. They do something we like, and therefore, out of the good of our hearts, even if we don't want the product they're selling, we should give them our money just because we like them so much.
Now, it's not just anime. I mean, I want to touch on the really deeper issue here.
Yep.
In particularly anime, manga, science fiction fandom, this seems to
Comics, any niche geeky market, mostly the niche geeky markets where there is a professional industry of some sort, like indie comic books or small toy companies that make cool statues.
there seems to be in this whole market a culture of you should support
Even like indie music.
Yep, you should support the scene and support the industry, even if you don't actually like the individual things in the industry. Hey, Palladium's going out of business. Everyone who cares about gaming should purchase Palladium books to keep them from going out of business. Hey, indie comic artist X isn't doing so well. Buy his comics, even if you don't like them, just to support him. Just
Or
to keep
hey,
it going.
indie comic artist has a new comic you like. You should buy the monthly issues that are full of ads instead of the trade that you actually want, or else the trade might never come about.
I think that's the worst thing.
That's the worst one.
That bothers me more than anything in the world is when some comic fan tells me that by not purchasing these gigantic, poorly printed, annoying, hard to store, expensive monthlies or weeklies or whatever that are just a pain in the ass, I just want to throw them away when I'm done with them. And waiting for the, rational format, the book, the bound book that has the entire story in it.
With no ads.
That by waiting
For less
that,
money, for more pages.
I am somehow the reason that the comic industry is not doing well. Maybe the fact that the way they're making money is by having to sell the product that no one wants, and the people who buy that product buy it out of charity as opposed to out of actual desire, is the actual problem.
Yes. The main point here is that you should never, under any circumstance, blame the consumer for the failure of the business. If a business is not making money, it is not the consumer's fault. In a capitalist society, 110% of the time, it is the business's fault. If ADV needs money because no one's buying DVDs, it's ADV's fault for selling DVDs shittily. If some indie comic artist doesn't make money because I don't buy the monthlies, that's his fault for being stupid and printing monthlies that he lost money on. If some guy makes like some fan film and then he doesn't make his money back, if Palladium Books is going out of business, it's because they're making a product no one wants or selling it improperly or failing to market it properly.
Well,
it's not
Scott-
my fault for not buying it. This is not a fucking charity. Businesses are not charity. If I'm going to give to charity, I'm going to give to poor, starving kids in Africa. Palladium Books or ADV Films or Marvel Comics are not charities. They are businesses. If they don't have money, it's their fault. If they go out of business, I don't give a shit. It's not my problem.
Wow, Scott.
Damn.
Yeah, I knew you had your rant, and I saw it coming, but I actually had to turn you down because the compressor didn't know what to do.
Oh, man. Don't tell me that we should support someone. If someone can't support themselves, that's their fault. If they want my money, they should make something I want. Because I am a person who pays money for things I want.
I mean, just the anime, right? All right, so I want to Netflix stuff. The reason I Netflix most anime is because most anime is not that great. And, hey, that was cool. I didn't mind seeing that, but I wasn't willing to pay more than practically nothing to see it. Like, there's a lot of anime that I'll buy if the price is right. Pretty much once it gets to $5 the DVD or less, I'll buy almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, we bought freaking, Grappler Baki?
God. Well, that was special. Those ended up being pretty much free.
I know, but I'm saying, we bought KO Beast at a convention for cheap. I wouldn't have paid full price for KO Beast, but it's worth it to me to pay $10 for it.
Yeah, but
so that's what I'm going to pay.
Plus, I mean, you make the point that $30 for 4 or 5 episodes of something is a good price. The
For
thing is,
$30.
that was a good price 8 years ago. Nowadays, I mean, look at in America how DVDs are sold. You buy the whole season of like CSI or whatever for like 20 or 30 bucks.
Yeah, I could buy a season of Futurama for less than $30. Why would I buy 4 episodes of an anime for $30?
And the other thing is, why would I even buy the individuals? I should buy the box set.
The thin pack even, which takes up less space in my house, precious space in my house. Because you know what? Rent costs a lot more than DVDs.
Plus, it's a fine line. I mean, what's the point at which it's not okay? I mean, like I said before, all right, buying the DVDs as they come out every month for full price. What if I buy those DVDs on sale? What if I buy those DVDs used? What if I buy those DVDs from a reseller? What's the point at which it's not
What if my
supporting the
friend
industry
lends them
enough?
to me?
Yeah, is lending okay? Legally it is. What if an
Anything
anime
legal.
club shows it to me? What if an anime club runs a marathon? Should anime clubs not run marathons of whole shows because that prevents people from buying the show?
Oh no, even though the anime company gave them permission to have the marathon?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I have much to say. We've been repeating ourselves because I think the argument's pretty straightforward.
Yes. Basically, all I want to do is all these people, you're a geek. You enjoy some niche product like an indie comic book, right? And it would be sad for you to see that go because, you like it and you will only get it as long as the person who makes it is making money.
Like example, Firefly. A lot of Firefly fans bought.
That's a good example I didn't think of because I don't like it.
I loved Firefly.
I did not like
was
it.
just amazing, and to this day I look back on it with such nostalgia. And I've seen the whole thing like 5 times, and I've watched the commentaries twice.
Yep.
It's great. I loved it, but we have a friend. Let's say his name is Jot Sanson. So
Good thing there are many people who share his name.
but people like him bought things about Firefly that were not good, like the Firefly prequel to the movie comic, which was absolute shit. And a lot of these people bought multiple copies of it, and they bought multiple box sets of the DVDs, not for any practical reason, but to somehow try to boost sales and support it and support Firefly coming back.
Some of them would buy 2, one to keep and one to lend to friends. That makes sense.
No, there were people who bought 3.
There were.
1 to keep, 1 to lend to friends, and 1 to support Joss Whedon.
There are people who went to see the movie in the theaters multiple times or would buy extra tickets and only use one of them. And
Sadly, while I liked the movie, it was a good movie. It was a solid movie, but it wasn't super great. It wasn't as good as the show. It tried to do too much with it, but I'm not going to get into that.
These people are buying products that they don't actually want the product, or they're buying products they want, but they're buying extras of it that they don't need or want or have room for, simply because they want more of it and they feel they're basically giving to charity. And it's okay to give to charity. There is nothing wrong with giving to charity. If you feel that your dollars are best spent, let's say you're Bill Gates and you love Firefly and if he spent all his money, he could have kept Firefly afloat very easily. He's Bill Gates. If he did that would have been an act of charity.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. We're not saying people out there can't support an industry. We're saying don't ever get mad at anyone else for not doing the same thing you're doing.
Exactly what I'm saying. If Bill Gates decides to save Firefly or support an indie comic artist, that's fine. And actually, you could commend him for doing that if you think that's, a good way to spend his money.
I would.
Of course, actually, Bill Gates spends his money in a much better way, curing malaria. But who needs to give charity to curing malaria when you can save a starving indie comic writer in New York?
I would put forth a relatively substantial amount of money if I could see more Firefly.
What?
Like if it was a fact that if, say, 10,000 Firefly fans each gave $1,000, there'd be another season, it might be worth $1,000 to me.
Yeah, you can, if you want, give to charity. It is charity. Don't fool yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly fine if you love something that much. But the problem I have is when people go around and tell other people that they're bad or they're wrong or they have an obligation because they like something to also give to charity. no one is ever obligated to give to charity. Nobody. I mean, it's nice to do so, but you can't tell someone they're bad for not doing it. I guess you could tell someone they're bad if they stole from charity.
Yeah, well,
That would
yeah.
be bad. If you went into like the United Way and just walked out with $20.
But then, I mean, like, what's the if someone is saying that, what's the line? You didn't donate $5,000 to whatever. You didn't give your kidney to some random person. You're breathing air someone else could be using. That Xbox you bought, those plastic. I mean, what's the line?
And it's even worse when they're talking about charity to for-profit companies, usually, companies that are trying to make money. If an anime is failing because it doesn't have good enough marketing, that doesn't mean we should buy more DVDs. It means maybe ADV should get better marketing. It means maybe Funimation should learn how to sell their DVDs. Maybe Bandai Visual should lower their prices. It's not my fault that they're not making money. It's their fault. And don't try to blame me, because then I'll yell at you on a special episode of Geeknights.
Now, one last thing before we end this, and aside from everything else we've said, there's one more reason why the argument really doesn't work. The anime industry in the US, as far as anyone can determine, makes jack and shit off of DVD sales. The primary market is in merchandise, like plushie tachikomas or plushie cactuars, which I spent $40 on for one.
Well, someone might be making the argument that they would make money off DVDs if you guys would just buy them.
But no, all the money is in marketing. That's why a lot of shows that are really good don't make a lot of money, because a lot of those shows aren't very marketable. I mean, how much Gankutsuo merchandise is there out there? Not so much. But how much Bleach merchandise is there? How much Full Metal Alchemist merchandise was there? Some shows are more marketable in that arena than others, and those shows are the ones that tend to make piles and piles of money.
Yeah, if you want to talk about where Viz's money is coming from, or Funimation's money is coming from, it's from Naruto merchandise. It ain't from Naruto DVDs. Well, Naruto manga makes money.
Well, plus, I mean, a show like Naruto, that's a show that's pretty much designed to be watched on TV. I don't think anyone is reasonably expected to purchase the DVDs of a show that goes on that long, because you're never going to watch it again. It's something like Sazai-san, even though that's not out in here. Imagine a show that goes on for years and years and years. Or like The Simpsons, 13, 14, 20, 40 seasons as it just keeps going. Other than buying, like, the seasons that you care about because you want to show them again, I don't think anyone is reasonably expected to purchase the entirety of The Simpsons. You saw it on TV, you got your enjoyment out of it. I think you've got better things to do with your life than watch all those episodes again, or track down the one episode from season 13 that you missed and buy it.
Though I would like to own all the Simpsons DVDs.
I would like to own
because then I could watch any Simpsons episode at any time I wanted to.
Well,
but I don't really have
DVDs.
a need to.
You know how much of a pain in the ass that would be? I'd rather I would pay a lot of money to have a thing on my computer where I can search through Simpsons episodes, scripts by words, and find the exact episodes I want and then watch them.
Give it 5 years.
I would pay a lot of money for that.
They should just sell hard drives at the store that have every episode of The Simpsons on them, and you can search through all the episodes, and they're all indexed.
You know how much I look forward to the day when all this DRM bullshit is behind us, where I can buy movies on USB sticks?
Yeah, I would just buy movies download. It'd be kind of like Steam, where there's a list of every movie I've ever bought, and then you just click and they play.
I'd be willing to pay.
But I can also download them in a non-DRM format and put them on portable players.
I'm not going to pay $1 a song, which is the reason I don't use iTunes.
But, $1 a song, forget it.
But even with, I mean, if there were no DRM and it was like 5 to 10 cents a song, I would spend thousands of dollars on music.
There was a study that said that the sweet spot for music prices online is 5 cents. If it was 5 cents, I would just go online and type in the name of The Doors and click buy everything they've ever done. The Beatles, buy everything they've ever done. Led Zeppelin, buy everything, even though I own some CDs.
It's the same with anime. Like, if I see a box set of a show that I kind of liked for $40 or less, I'll probably just buy it because it's so cheap. And if nothing else, I'll give it away as a prize on Geeknights.
So this is just...
But if I give a show away as a prize that I've already seen, aren't I hurting the industry because that person didn't buy those DVDs?
I think this just proves that if your only customers are Rim and Scott, that yet again, you can't blame us for not buying. It's their fault for not making the correct price determined by capitalism.
I watch
if they
so
set
much
the price
more anime
lower,
now that Netflix
they would
is
make more money
available.
from people like us. And that's it.
All right, I think we're done.
Yep.
So once again, this was not a normal episode of Geeknights. This was, in fact, a Geeknights special. If you're a new listener, and I know there are a lot of you, listen to any episode that does not have the special tag or is in the special category. You'll get a much more sense of what our show is about. It's not just Scott ranting and me laughing while he rants.
And if you don't support Geeknights with charitable donations, you're a bad person.
Yeah, send us $5 or we're not doing the show anymore.
Nah, just kidding.